Welcome in to another Running with the Timberwolves podcast on the Believe Sports Network. My name is Gabe Anderson, and I'm joined, as always, by Chris Emerson. Chris, how we doing?
We're doing good, man. We're doing it as good as we can being down 0-2.
That's true. That's true. And you may notice we have a special guest with us from the Thirsty Pups Wolves watch parties. Shea, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm excited to be back on. It's been a little bit since we talked, so excited to dive into some Wolves stuff, and hopefully we can find some ways for these pups to get back into the series here.
Yeah, I mean,
solve all the problems.
Yeah, two close games. I mean, we're almost only a -4 total for the series so far, and we'll get into that in a second. But first, I do want to mention to make sure to like, share, and subscribe on YouTube and give us a 5-star rating on Spotify or Apple. It's really easy to do, and it really helps us out. And we should mention what Shea has going on. The Thirsty Pups watch party still at Park Tavern. We did some stuff with them earlier in the year, and Shea, it sounds like it has just blossomed into something beyond what you can imagine at this point. I mean, what you were saying, there's like 500 people at your last one.
Yeah, the last couple. I mean, there's been 500 plus people, but I think Park Tavern's still done a good job of food gets out on time and drink gets out on time. So, even though there's that many people, they're still able to withhold that stuff. But I mean, that many people in a bar when Naz Reid hits a 3 and the place explodes. I mean, it feels like a mini Target center sometimes back there, but how many times in Minnesota are we watching basketball out on a patio like that on a nice night? I mean, I've never really experienced that in my life. So be able to do that with these fans who, I mean, you've seen it across the board, have really invested in this team now. So they're coming out in droves to these watch parties everywhere. And it's so much fun to be a part of that community and watch this team with a group of Wolves fans like that who are just as passionate as you are when you're watching the game. So, yeah, it's funny, from us doing our first podcast there with you guys and, that really started to grow where we had, 35, 40 people to, now we're doing 500. And it sounds like you guys might stop by tomorrow, huh?
Yeah, I'll for sure will be there with a couple friends. Chris, are you coming?
I was going to come last time because to be honest, I don't have cable. So I'm like, streaming it, like I'm doing all sorts of bootleg things to watch it. So yeah, I think I will.
Yeah, so we'll be out there if you want to say hi. Yeah, it'll just be a good time among Wolves fans. Hopefully the Wolves can turn it around, but let's get right into it. Oh, we should mention it's also a great location because I know like Tom's Watch Bar does watch parties as well. But if you don't want to go downtown, if you want to stay kind of in the suburbs, St. Louis Park is a great place to go, just right on the outskirts of town.
Right. Parking lot, you're not paying to park downtown or get in and out of there. So, it's been really accessible for people. And I think that's part of the reason why it's been so successful too. And so it'll be fun to see you guys tomorrow.
To be honest, I mean, you guys put on a good show too. Like you guys, the event is a fun event. Like I was skeptical the first time I went. I'm like, let's see what this is going to be. And it was a really fun time. So, and that was even when it wasn't, nearly as big as it is. So
that was Portland. That was a 9 p.m. Portland game.
Exactly. And it was a good time. So I think the energy it's a really fun energy. Just I'm excited to show up, to be honest.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time, and let's get right into it. Wolves lose 109-108. And I'll start with you, Chris, as we always do. What just your general observations from the game, and then we'll get into more specifics, and then I'll throw it to Shea as well.
Dallas has been the number one defensive team in the NBA since like the All-Star break. So they know what they're doing. They've got long defenders. They've got active bodies. And they're slowing Anthony Edwards down. And that's when, if you have multiple superstars, that's awesome because then the other superstar takes over because he's, being defended by a smaller person or less attention. And that's not what's happening currently. So we have to find a way to get our offense flowing a little better. I think we're right there. Like this is the Western Conference Finals. So it's not like you're expecting, huge blowouts one way or another. So like you said, we're 4 points a dog in total. So, I mean, we're right there on the doorstep, and we haven't played great. So, we need to keep getting big contributions from our bench, and guys like Nickeil Alexander-Walker need to play better. And, guys like Jaden McDaniels has to give us more than 5. And
He had 2
Cat has
last
to
night.
play better. Right.
Yeah,
like
he
all
did.
that has to happen. Like everybody has to play good. We can't have those games where a couple guys play good and that makes up for guys who don't. Like, this is Western Conference Finals now. So
Right.
Yeah.
we're learning.
Yeah, Shea, go ahead. Your general observations from game 2.
Yeah, I think from game 2, I think you're starting to see a little bit of the inconsistency with how young the Wolves are with their experience. And, they have been close games, but we should have an experienced playoff team. They would have closed these games out. The Ant turnover, some of the mistakes at the end, even coaching wise, I think this is just such a learning experience for the Wolves right now. And we're watching them kind of grow up in front of our eyes. But they do have an opportunity. It's still a long series to respond and show us that they are ready for this big moment. But I think, me personally, I think I overlooked Dallas a little bit in the star power between that guard duo of Luka and Kyrie. I mean, you really can't contain them. You can only try to slow them down at this point. They're just so offensively talented. And Chris, I think you touched on a little bit too. Them adding the size and revamping that defense.
Yeah.
You're seeing that, Ant and Cat are struggling to have their star power games. And I think it was tough to see a Jaden McDaniels game wasted where he was 6 for 9 from 3. And usually if Jaden's hitting threes, that opens up our entire offense and takes the pressure off of Ant and Cat. So it's almost surprising.
Same thing with Nas last night.
And with wasted a Nas Reed game last night as well.
Exactly.
And it's I talked about if those guys are hitting open shots, Ant and Cat should be eating that defense up alive on the offensive end. But we just didn't see it. And there's rumors that maybe Ant's a little banged up, but I just think at this point it doesn't matter. Everyone's a little banged up, everyone's a little beat up. So I think I'm excited to see what they're going to do in this first game in Dallas, because I think this is the make or break of the series. You got to win this, or it feels like, we're down 3-0. Oh, no. Has that been done once, or has that ever been done?
I don't think so.
I don't think it's ever been. So we're in a must-win situation, and we're going to see if this team can grow up in front of our eyes and capture this moment in game 3.
Yeah, and you mentioned Cat and Ant not playing well. Over these last 2 games, they're combined shooting 30% from the field and 30% from 3. That's not going to get it done. Now, I want to go down to a specific play. Obviously, that it's a thumbnail of the podcast here, but the last play where Luka hit that shot. What do you guys think? And I'll start with you, Shea. Should Jaden have switched off on Luka and left kind of Rudy Gobert on an island? Do you think that was a mistake? Or do you think it was just the flow of the defense? Now, I know they intended on rematching up later on in the possession, but they never got the opportunity. What do you think, Shea?
Yeah, I think that when I was watching that, I knew Dallas's game plan was if Rudy was going to be on the court, that they were going to try and get that switch with either Luka or Kyrie, and it ended up being Luka. And right when that happened, I already knew it was going to happen. You could just feel what was going to happen. So the thing is, I think that ball screen was set 4 or 5 feet off the 3-point line. It wasn't even a dangerous playmaking set. So Jaden easily could have communicated where Jaden's going under that, and that switch never should have happened. And then you're keeping your primary defender on Luka. But even if it does happen, Rudy's smart enough to know that it's a 2-point game, to run him off that 3-point line and make sure that he takes a tough 2 instead of a game winner, because worst comes to worst, you're at a tie game and still have a shot to win it with the timeout to advance the ball. So I think whether that was a coaching error or that was a communication error, that never should have happened. I think there's a clip of Jaden when he switches and he's backing off on Rudy's guy. You can see Jaden's face and his expression just all of a sudden be like, oh crap, like we weren't supposed to do that. So
Right.
It was tough to see. And then obviously Lucas still hit a crazy shot. I mean, hats off to him. That Rudy still contested it decently, but sometimes they're going to hit shots and they're that talented and things are going to happen. But I think we lost that game before the switch happened with the turnover and maybe the questionable call on the challenge. So can you not challenge it can only be whose possession, not if it's a foul, right? When Jaden fumbled it out of bounds.
Well, I don't know enough about the challenges, but
Uh,
so like after they established the who was out of bounds,
right.
I don't know if there's a rule that says then we cannot challenge if he was fouled or not.
Yeah, can you
Because
have two challenges on the same?
because if you take a shot and they don't call a foul, you can challenge that and say, "Hey, we got fouled."
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't know enough about that weirdness, but
Right.
it was.
But that's got to change because they clearly looked at the monitor and saw that Jaden got fouled, and what should have happened was two shots. Even if Jaden hits one of those, the game's probably over.
Right.
Like that's an absolute horrible. And it's not the ref's fault because that's the way it's set up, but that's a horrible rule that they have.
Or it's the ref's fault the ref was 5 feet away staring directly at the play.
That's true too. Yeah, he was right there.
It kind of exactly is the ref's fault, but I don't know.
Well, no. What I'm saying is
I know, because the rule is the way the rule is.
Yeah, the rule needs to be changed. And you guys were mentioning earlier basically others other than Cat and Ant doing producing on the court. Actually, I found a stat here. The others, anyone who's not Cat and or Ants, they're shooting a combined 20 for 47 from three, 42%. Meanwhile, on Dallas, those who aren't Luka and Kyrie are shooting 6 for 25, 24% from three. So I do think now, obviously, a lot of that's Jaden in game one, and then that's a lot of that's Nas in game two. But we are getting production from the other guys. We're just not getting production from our main guys. And I think that's the difference. And I think that Dallas, they have committed to really packing the paint. But it was weird, and I want to get your guys' opinion on this. We'll start with you, Chris. It was weird to see that Ant attacking the rim early on in game two. Like first quarter, he was getting the rim every time. Then he started backing off a little bit. Do you think he's hurt or tired, or what do you think's going on with him?
I don't think any of that. I think he's perfectly fine. I think they're just keying the defense on him. Like to be honest, I think the thing that everyone's worried about Ant is maybe I haven't been watching enough mass media about it, but I think that's ridiculous. Like he went 21, 5, and 7, like 7 assists, and I think he had like 2 turnovers. Like if he was having bad turnover games, which he's had before when he's been like forced to be, a ball mover, it would be different. But he's playing smart. Like he's, he like you said, he was getting to the line, which was a big improvement from game one. Luka had a similar line in game one where he had, similar points to field goal attempts, I think. And, people championed him like he saved the game for them. So I think Anthony Edwards is fine. It's just the defense is queuing on him. What we need to do is the other people need to step up in a series like this. This is a Western Conference Finals. Like they're telling us we're going to take Anthony or make it super hard for Anthony Edwards to score. He'll be able to pass or whatever. So the other guys have to step up. And that's what has to happen. And it's not right yet, but we're right there. We're on the doorstep. A couple bounces, a couple, calls going one way or the other, and we're up, 2-0. So, it is what it is. It's maybe this is where the story is told about a 22-year-old Anthony Edwards who once took a young Timberwolves team that was down 0-2, to the title. Like this might be the beginning of some lore that we'll hear about 10 years from now.
Right. Go ahead, Shea. What do you think?
Yeah, I think to add to that last point, Chris, I think Minnesota sports in general, if we're ever favored, things go poorly for us, right? So it's almost like we had to put ourselves in this underdog position just for us to have this success now. But it is interesting. I think in Ant's last press conference, he was talking about how he's passing up a lot of shots. And I think he has done a pretty good job of getting the other people involved and trusting his teammates, and they've been able to make the plays. But I think they saw the blueprint of what Denver did, which was just double Ant, get the ball out of his hands, and make his life just a living heck on the court, and then hope that the rest of the team isn't going to beat you. And Luka and Kyrie have been able to, do their thing on the other end. But, I think Ant, when those double teams come, he's either got to attack right away because he's like 3-4 feet off the 3-point line, just dribbling, and those doubles come. And then all of a sudden we're getting into, late shot clock situations, which makes it very tough for us to be efficient on the offensive end. And, Nas is hitting some late threes to bail us out, or Jaden in the corner is hitting those threes to bail us out. But I think that the key to, beating this Dallas defense is we probably got to get out and transition a little bit and not let them get set and not let them pack that paint. And I don't know if that means if we go a little bit smaller to match, their bigs are, not as big as ours, but they're athletic and they run the court a little bit better. So I know a lot of people have talked about playing slow-mo a little bit more. Maybe we play Nas at the 5 a little bit more and we run a little bit more slow or smaller lineups to get out and transition a little bit, because that set Dallas defense is giving us some big problems right now. So it'll be interesting to see which coaching adjustments happen moving forward.
And speaking of not playing, Karl Anthony Towns, where he did get up 16 shots, only played 26 minutes in this game, and down the stretch didn't play at all. Were you, or very little, were you guys a fan of keeping in the hot hand in Nas, or should Cat have been out there a little more? Just for the pure fact that he's a max player, he's one of your big two. You got to have him in the tough situations. What do you guys think? Go ahead, Shea.
Yeah, that's tough to know. I think it's so cool that we have a player like Nas that if he gets that hot, I think you run with them. I think you have to. He is such a talented player, and I don't think that's to harp on Karl Anthony Towns as much as it's to give Nas his props and who he's become as a player. But I think we probably should have got Cat out there running with Nas a little bit more in the diversity between the two. And they're a little bit more interchangeable in the defensive end with switches and whatnot. And I think they'll give Dallas a little bit more challenge, through post moves and also stretching the floor. So I'd like to see Cat and Nas run out there a little bit more in this series than Rudy. I don't think Rudy's necessarily getting played off the court. I don't think that's the narrative. But as far as post scoring, I think we need that threat right now because they're pressuring Ant so much on the outside with doubles, where we could probably get some paint touches when those perimeter defenders are stretched out to Ant to try and take the ball out. So, I think you do have to play Cat, but I do think you ride the hot hand where maybe Rudy should have been the one in this game that didn't have it. But at the same time, Cat's got to start hitting shots for him to be able to stay in the court, because, if he's not, it's tough to keep him out there. So I think it was the right move to keep Nas out there for this situation. But moving forward, like I said, I think it's going to be very interesting to see what the coaching adjustments are to attack this Dallas defense.
Right. And when it comes down to it, if we're going to go anywhere, I mean, we've already gone some places, but if we're going to advance to the finals, we need Cat and Ant to have good games. Like you need your best two players. Like, for example, Boston is not going to win a championship if Tatum and Brown are shooting 30%. They're just not.
Right.
They're just not. But go ahead, Chris. What do you think?
I mean, it's part of the problem with Karl Anthony Towns is he can't create his own shot. Like, we talk about how we want to play Karl Anthony Towns and Nas because it would be great to have that post option. But when have you seen that? Like, when have you seen Cat be effective in the post? I mean, he was defended by Jamal Murray for the whole first half of Game 7, and I think he posted him up once and got a bucket. Like, he doesn't do it. He can't capitalize on that. So we need to stop thinking like that's even an option, in my opinion. Like, he doesn't have that in his bag. So if he's not hitting open threes or straight line drives, he has almost zero importance on our team. So Nas was the guy. He moves the ball better. He flows better. He's quicker on his feet defensively. It's kind of, Tim Connolly's watching this series, and there is a thing that makes it hard when your second star or your second superstar can't get his own shot. Like, if he's not a guard, if he's not a ball dominant player, so that when Anthony Edwards is out, like, you still need a ball dominant star to get even Cat the ball. So like, it's hard to, like, you can't, there's not enough money to go around. So That's what we're running into. That's the trouble we're running into offensively. And I've talked about it for months that if you can stop Anthony Edwards from being dynamic, we have no one else on our team that's dynamic. The only other person is Naz Reid that has any sort of flair or way to attack the rim or something like that to crash the defense. And he's a center, a power forward. It's a lot to ask for him to be our number 2 play creator. So we are what we are with our roster. So we need everything to click perfectly. And I think at the time, Naz was the guy to be out there. I think on the last play, I would have seen, I could understand seeing Cat or anyone else or blitzing. I don't know why, to be honest, we even let it get to the point where Rudy was on Luka one-on-one. Like, and I mean, it's not like Luka or Rudy was giving him the 3. Like, he was doing his best to just try to do anything to stay in front of the guy. You know, Luka made 6 or 7 great moves to hit that shot. So, I don't know what the answer. The answer is all of our guys. Yeah, all of our guys need to be better. Everybody. This is a Western Conference Finals. I keep saying that, but like, there's the limitation of error is small now. You know, so like, and we're only 4 points down.
Right.
Right. And another thing that I noticed is just too many lob dunks for the Dallas Mavericks. I mean, I don't know if it's the drop coverage kind of thing where Rudy's on an island guarding 2 people, but
I got something about that.
Yeah. Well, one second. Overall in this series, the Wolves have been outscored 102-82 in the paint, and they have 2 big guys on max contracts. Go ahead, Chris. What do you think?
So I think what we need to do for that, and not, this is it. When you're down 0-2, it's time to pull some stops. So I'm going to ask you guys about a couple adjustments that I think we might do. Shea, especially I want to see what you have to say. So right now we have Cat on like Jones Jr. or something like that, like just kind of standing out around the 3-point line. What about having Cat on their center, who really isn't an offensive thing, and it's not like it's a worry that way. Now that puts Cat in that pick and roll. He's a little faster. And now you have Rudy as the guy who's the low man to drop down from the corner opposed to Cat. Like, there's a lot of times when Rudy's caught, up in all the action up front, trying to stop all that, and the guy gets by, and Cat didn't get down or wasn't effective enough at the rim as the guy that covers. I wonder if we could switch that up and have Rudy be the guy that covers at the rim, even if it means leave the open 3-point, give the open 3-point, let Washington shoot his 3s, let Jones shoot his 3s, like let those guys beat us. But I wonder if we need to take Rudy off their, big gangly centers and let Cat defend those dudes. That's my first idea. That's for the last. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, because my first thought of that is I'd rather take any of those guys shooting a 3 in the corner than an automatic lob dunk, right? And it's demoralizing to just see these open dunks over and over. It feels like your defense just isn't doing anything. You can't game plan against it. So I think, putting Rudy more in that rim protector position where you don't have to go into drop coverage, and maybe Cat can jump those a little bit better and hope that he doesn't foul or get into that tendency again. But that way you do keep your
rim high wall.
Right. Yeah. And so you do keep that rim protector there. So I would like to see that adjustment, or at least see it tried throughout a game to see if that works. Like you said, this is the Western Conference Finals, so you got to think of everything and pull out all stops until it is a chess match out here, and you are playing a team potentially 7 times, so you got to change your looks up, and they're probably game planning for the same thing. So if you can keep Rudy in that area and get Cat a little bit more on the perimeter and make them hit 3s to beat us instead of lob dunks, I think that'd be a great adjustment for the Wolves, and something that at least needs to be tried, because I can't sit there at the watch parties and watch these people just see Lively catch lobs all night. So
painful.
Yeah, it is. And like you said, like we were mentioning, the other guys, not Kyrie and Luka, shooting 24% from three. So that would basically fit right into their hand of the Wolves defense. Now, obviously they could start hitting threes. You never know, but I would, like you were saying, I would much rather have that than a Luka 3 or a Kyrie 3 to get him out of rhythm, because Kyrie was not that good in the first half. He caught fire in the second half, and with the Wolves definitely need to do a better job at closing on in quarters, because I think in the second half we're like a minus, like 15 so far in these two games. I mean, that's not going to get it done in the playoffs.
Right.
No, you were talking about Kyrie, and earlier you said slow-mo more, which is like poison to my ears hearing about slow-mo. I don't think we'll win a game that slow-mo plays more than 6 minutes. We're talking about that big Anthony Edwards turnover, like on that pass back to Nas. That was terrible. Why do you think Nas was relocating? I'll tell you, because slow-mo, for some reason, because nobody was defending him, relocated to the corner that Nas was standing in. So Nas had to get out of that corner because for some reason slow-mo was pretending like he was an option there, opposed to the guy who's shooting 90% for three for the game. So that made Nas relocate because he couldn't stand next to the guy. So like part of that was slow-mo was in the wrong spot. Like I get it, he moves the ball, but there's a reason why he always has the ball in his hands at the end of the quarter, or like at the end of the play. It's because the other team wants that to happen. Like if you have Anthony Edwards on the court and Karl Anthony Towns, and you're telling me 4 out of 5 possessions, slow-mo is deciding the last shot of that possession, that's a win for every team in the Western Conference Finals. You know what I mean? What about this? We put in the other J-Mac, the point guard J-Mac, because he can speed-wise stay up with Kyrie. He can stay in front of him, and he adds that little the opposite sort of ball movement where instead of the ball swinging to slow-mo, and he can't have that next pass because they tuck that off, so he has to do his like slow dribble in. He's got to do all that thing, which like stops the flow of the offense. You know what I mean? Because now it's his game. J-Mac's the other way. Like he keeps the flow going. He keeps everything moving. Willing shooter. I wonder if switching it up and letting that little spark plug come in and get you 6 to 8 minutes of energy would be another wild card for Finch to throw out there, because we need something to slow down Kyrie. He's just too fast. Even for Edwards, like there gets a point where the foot speed is just he's too sudden. Like his speed is too sudden.
Well, and J-Mac's kind of a little jitterbug out there too. He is a spark plug when you put him in, and I think if it was a year ago, the way J-Mac was shooting the three, I'd be like, I don't know. But with the way that J-Mac shot the three this year and how confident he is, all of a sudden he sees one go in. J-Mac could be a big difference in the game. And Dallas not throwing as much size at us as maybe Phoenix or Denver did. J-Mac can be able to be in that game and not be outsized, especially when Kyrie's a main ball handler. And then you take a little bit of the pressure off of Ant guarding Kyrie as well, where maybe he gets a little bit more of a break instead of having to chase. Because Kyrie's been playing a lot better off ball than I've seen him in his entire career, making Ant work a lot more. So if J-Mac can chase him a little bit more and give him headaches, I think that could be a good look for us. And honestly, I would say that over Monte, because Monte's been struggling a little bit from three when we put him in there. So why not try J-Mac to see what happens,
And Kyrie,
go ahead.
Kyrie likes to post up, so he'll probably be like, okay, this guy's a little smaller than me, post up. But to be honest, if my option is Kyrie on just absolute blow-bys 70% of the time, or Kyrie in a post up and we have to double and he kicks out and one of those guys has to hit a shot, I'll take that. Like I'm just sick of blow-bys.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. And something that I noticed in the Suns series, watching the Suns, I think that there could be definitely some different guys getting a shot for the Wolves. Like, for example, in the Suns series in game 3, they started playing guys like Bol and Josh Okogie a little bit, just throwing out guys to try to do some different things. Now, obviously it didn't work, and that was a different scenario. And that's because the Phoenix Suns have a worse bench than the Minnesota Timberwolves. But you're right. I think that we could see a combination of some different players getting a little more of a look. So let's wrap it up pretty quick here. But predictions for Game 3. Go. You start with you, Shea.
I think this Timberwolves team is going to show us what they've been all year, and that's they've been resilient and they've been delusionally confident. I think it's going to be another close game, but I think Ant and Cat are going to come out in this game, and I think we're going to win Game 3. I think that's going to rally the city up again and the fans up again to be like, okay, we're back in this series. It's only 2-1. And I think that outlook for the team and in the locker room to gain that confidence after getting a win and going into Game 4 will really help. So this is do or die, and you've seen when the Timberwolves have their back against the wall, they've responded every time. So I think we come out and we win Game 3. Again, I think it's going to be close, but I think we close this game out a little bit better than what we have the last 2 games. And
Chris, your prediction for Game 3?
Fairly similar. I mean, we're the team that when we catch a couple W's, the national media starts telling us that we're the greatest team, since, the 98 Bulls. And, and we usually lose the next game. We're a young team. We hear that stuff and it gets in our heads. So, getting beat, and even if it's just slightly beat, might put us in the right headspace. Finch has always said the road is good for this team because there's less distractions. Everything is, set up for you. That sort of structure might be good for what we need to get moving forward. So I think we can get a win, and more so because we have to. There's probably going to be a letdown even on Dallas's side. They're coming home, up 2-0. They're going to have a little letdown. So I think we get a W.
I would agree. I got Wolves in 7 in this series. I had them in 6 first, but I got Wolves in 7. But anyway, if you're looking for somewhere to watch the game, come on out to the Thirsty Pups Wolves watch party at Park Tavern in St. Louis Park. Shea, what time should people get there? Just for if people want to come by. What do you think?
I would say with how games are going, if you want to get a guaranteed table out on the patio, you're going to have to be there about hour and a half before tip with how things have been going. But there's plenty of room still. Yeah, there's plenty of room. People are showing up early. They're excited. You get to mingle with some of the fans before the game. You get to meet some people. It's a lot of fun, but there's still plenty of room then in the back bar if you want to be inside. In the front restaurant, people are watching it in the bowling alley. So really, you're going to have plenty of room, whenever you do show up. We'll make sure you get a good spot. But if you want to guarantee a table out on the patio, you're going to have to get there a little bit earlier, I think, just with the playoffs and how many people are coming, just to be safe, try and get there early. But if not, either way, come say hi to us, come say hi to Running with the Wolves, and sit down and enjoy the game with these Wolves fans and enjoy these moments, because honestly, it's not guaranteed. You don't know what's going to happen next season.
Right.
Know what things are going to look like. So enjoy this now and get out with fans now, and be a part of this Wolves community, because it's been a ton of fun to watch this team.
It has, and that's at St. Louis Park at Park Tavern. Come on out. You heard him say, come in early, have a good time. I mean, no one has work tomorrow for the most part, so come on out, enjoy it, and let's have a good time. Shea, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Always good talking with you guys. I'm excited to see you guys tomorrow as well.
Yeah, we're excited too. And Chris, as always, thanks for being here.
Yeah, no problem.
And this is the Running with the Timberwolves podcast on the Believe Sports Network. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe on YouTube, and give us a 5-star rating on Spotify and or Apple or wherever you're listening. And as always, go Wolves.